self-control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. In my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling welcome. Had to sustain that note while I unmuted myself. I had unmuted myself, then remuted myself because I forgot I had unmuted myself already. So such is the conundrum of my life, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you guys are doing great. Happy Monday evening. I hope you guys are staying warm. I know we got a cold snap up here, and a lot of places are enjoying a little heat wave right now, but I hear there's some cold snaps moving through the Midwest again. So I don't know what you guys are going to be dealing with, but stay warm. But it's time to get snuggled up, turn down the lights, and get ready, because it's time for bed. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I just realized I got to trim my wick here. It's a little bit aggressive. Can you see it? I'm using the spooky light. Got to trim this a little bit. It's a little aggressive. I don't need to start more cables on fire here in the studio. I see Don wandered in. How you doing, Don? Ow, that's really still freaking hot. Yike. They always make it look easy on the movies. Dope. So that didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. Hold on. Time to get the clipper. Got to trim these loose ends, ladies and gentlemen. It's action-packed evening here in the portal. Watch me as I burn myself trying to conduct some lighting. Yes, I like to light with candles. I think it's a cooler energy than just, electric lights or battery lights or whatever. So, that's stuck in there now, but that's all right. I just think candles are awesome. And if you look into any of the old ways, candles are preferred over any kind of light because of the, it's a natural element. It's the element of fire. So, which is a good thing normally. So, I like them, and they make me feel relaxed and calm, and they smell nice. So, I got that going for me. Let's get this lit up and see what kind of mayhem we can get into. Make sure the flame is much more tame, and it is. Looks much better. Okay. I guess we're good to go. Crisis averted, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you're having a good start of your week. Monday's behind you now. Um, yeah, this is the Super Bowl was yesterday, right? Yeah. Actually, we had a bunch of people here. I was pleased with that because when I was getting ready to do the show, I'm like, I wonder how many football fans are usual watchers of the portal, but a lot of you guys were here. So thank you guys for being here. And even during Super Bowl Sunday, and I don't know if you guys are football enthusiasts or not, but it is the biggest football game of the year, but I think it's also the most commercial and ridiculous. And as much, I don't like begrudge people for their love of sports. I think it's fine. If you're going to have a pastime, that's a pretty harmless one, but I don't know. It just seems a little silly to me. But I had to quit watching, and I've told this many times, but I'm from Minnesota, and I was really wrapped up in the Minnesota Vikings, and I was just like a rabid fan. Not the kind like, I had posters on my walls or anything, but I mean, I always wanted the Vikings to win. They were my team, and they always let me down. And every time they let me down, I just had these bad days. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, this is really just a game of a bunch of millionaires throwing a ball back and forth. And why am I getting so emotionally invested in it? So this is just me. I'm not pretending everyone else should follow my example. I mean, it's just me. I just wasn't coping well with it. So I thought, life's too short. I think I'm going to just stop watching this. And I've noticed that, by and large, my life has been a little more peaceful. I loved watching them win. I love celebrating when they won, but when they lost, it just always broke my heart. So I just figured life is a little simpler without all that nonsense for me. But if you love football, God bless you. I miss it, but at the same time, I don't know. That's just my thing. So here we are. This is our Bedtime Stories from Beyond. Again, I just got off the phone with my cousin in Michigan who Deb had helped with a presence. And Deb, I see you're in the chat room. Good to see you. And I'm glad you're in the chat room because apparently it's back. And it's back with a vengeance. I just got off the phone. The past several nights I've been talking to my cousin who has been dealing with this entity, and it was targeting his stepson. It was targeting because his stepson is very sensitive. He's a psychic. The kid is just really tuned in and really, I mean, he's seen apparitions his whole life, and he's, I think, 17 now or whatever, but it was really targeting him, and I worked with them, and Deb worked with them a bunch, and they got it all pushed back, and everything was peaceful for a long time. However, it's back. And I thought it would be eventually. I didn't think it was gone, but I figured, it gave them quite a bit of reprieve. And my cousin had seen this thing before. My cousin is a law enforcement officer, so he's not just, he's kind of a burly guy and a tough guy and stuff. But this thing, he saw it before, and he said, I've seen it before, and it never really bothered me. However, last night, he was watching television, and he was home alone, and it was about 10:30 at night, and he said he felt like, or he heard this sound, and it sounded like something dragging along the siding of the house. And he's like, what is that? So he went around the house and looked and found nothing. There were no footsteps in the snow around the house or anything like that, so there was no reason for this sound. So he went back in, and he said, I was inside for a little bit, and it came back, and this time much louder. He said, I was standing right in front of the window, and I could hear it coming across the side of the wall right to the window that I'm standing in front of. And he said, that was bad enough. That was already bad enough. But he said, I have a mercury light outside, and it was dark. And he said that, the light shines into that window. And he said this thing was a big black mass and passed in front of the window and completely blocked out this mercury light. There was no light getting through until it passed. And he said he was absolutely terrified. He's had a whole history of hauntings in his life. He's been around this stuff, for, since he was a child. But something about this haunting it terrified him. And he said, I've seen it outside before. I've seen it move and I can hear it 10 feet away from me, and it never freaked me out. But he said last night, it terrified me. I was terrified, and I don't understand why. But he said, and my phone was like down to one bar, and he had plugged it in like an hour before and put it on that very window ledge, the windowsill, and it was charging. And he said as soon as that thing passed, his phone went out and it quit charging and would not charge, and it wouldn't do anything. His phone couldn't be used. And he said when he plugged it in, it had like a bar and a half left. But as soon as that thing went by, the battery went dead and the charging wouldn't work. It would not charge. The outlet was fine. And he said, I didn't know what to do. I thought, well, maybe, he knew it affected his phone, but he figured that maybe his charger was bad now and he'd have to get a new one. He said, as soon as I moved it to the other window and set it down, boom, it started charging. So whatever's going on with this thing, it had such a strong presence that it could drain the battery through the wall and drained out the power, and it would not charge while it was in that position. So there's some kind of field that was emanating from this thing, and so they're going to work on it. I talked to him about some things he could do until his wife gets home and can go through the things that Deb instructed them about before, and so they're going to be redoing all that. But yeah, pretty amazing situation. And now he's not the type to be, into flights of fancy or anything like that. He's a very grounded, person. He's just not. He's not the type to hallucinate things or to imagine things. It's just you'd have to know him. But I know we all know that type of person. He's just a guy. He's a man's man. He's nothing phases him. But this definitely has phased him. So that's the current events, ladies and gentlemen. And Deb, I'm glad you're in here so you could hear this. But it might. I don't know why it's back. I don't know what it's doing. But I think him feeling the fear himself could mean that he may be the target this time instead of the stepson. I'm not sure, but that's me speculating. But there's something amiss. So I talked to him about putting up some temporary protections until they could go into what Deb had instructed them to do before that worked so well. But yeah, pretty spooky night for him last night. And I can feel that, I can feel it when I'm talking to him. I can feel that anxiety as he's explaining it. And it's like, oof, yikes. I mean, he saw it and it's blocked out the light. And he said the window where he saw it cross the window, he said this thing would have had to have been 7 or 8 feet tall. And again, no footprints in the snow outside at all. So it's not a physical thing like a dogman or a Bigfoot, which would make sense to me because that's pretty common in dogmen and Bigfoot cases that they like to tap on the house. They like to drag, noises along the house to, I guess, get a rise out of people. But there's no footsteps. There's no physical evidence that something is there. Additionally, he has a motion light right out there that points right at this space. And he said it didn't go off. And in fact, every time he's seen it, the motion lights never go off, but he can see it as a black mass. He's seen it 3 times now. And he said the other times didn't bother him, but this time absolutely terrified him. So we'll have to keep an eye on that situation, and I'll keep you updated if anything more comes up, ladies and gentlemen. But this is, that's one of the things. And now this is a family member, but one of the things I'm most proud of with this show is that people reach out to us, and most of the people that reach out to us are not my family. And that makes me feel very proud. And I feel very proud of the fact that we have so many people that are willing to help and to step up and to be part of a solution for people. I think that is just amazing. And I love all of you that are attached to the show, Sean, Deb, Dee, and Joel, all you guys who have stepped forward and said, yeah, we'll help for sure. And our MCAT and Lisa and Dan Pruitt, the paranormal investigators, who have said that they'd be happy to help anybody that's in their area as well. So we're just getting this really cool pool of resources, and it just makes me so proud. So that's kind of a side note, but it just means the world to me that this isn't just a show with stories, that we offer help to those that need it. I mean, that's just way cool. So I got some stories pulled up for us tonight, but that was kind of the first one, and that's it's actually my favorite one because I know it's true, and it's from me. It's the story that I just heard firsthand, and we talked for about an hour before the show. So, in fact, I had to tell him, hey, I got a minute before I got to start the show. I got to go, but I'll be calling him right after the show again. So, Deb, if there's anything you want me to pass on, just message me. Um, oh, okay, that's cool. Deb says, weird, Brent. I just found their number again about a week ago. I guess something was telling me there was something going on. Yeah, exactly. And he said he's felt that it's gotten been coming back, and even the 17-year-old said, yeah, it's getting close again. So he's picked up on that. So very cool. Well, not very cool, but that's the thing. Oh, Zero. Hey, made my way to here because of Deb. Oh, thanks, Zero. Great to see you, and thanks for making it over here. And thanks, Deb, for spreading the word. And it's good to see you all. Let me give you a shout outs to those of you who are here. Who do we got? Annette's here. Deb's here. Diana's here. Gentry's here. Haxer's here. Hell's House Paranormal. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. One of our brethren of the cause. Very cool. Jessica Mink. Lena. Lewis. MCAT. Pat. Sarah. And Zero Mind. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Those are those of you who are chatting at the present anyway. But there's more of you here than just that. But if you'd like a shout out, just give me a holler at some point in the chat room. I hope I'll catch it. I may miss it, and if I do, I'm sorry. But there's only one me, and I got to run all the buttons and read all the stories. So that's my life. But let's see what we got first here. First one tonight's coming out of the great state of Missouri, because they don't say Missouri in Missouri. They say Missouri in Missouri. All right, so this one is, for the first 5 years of my life, I had an unusually high psychic powers. I also have no memories of these 5 years. My parents, however, have not forgotten at all. I was 4 years old, and it was 10 at night, and both my brother and I were asleep upstairs. And it was at this late hour my parents received a call informing them that my dad's grandmother had died, and the funeral would be in a few days. They discussed things for about an hour before deciding to leave the next morning, and as my dad called his work to let them know, my mother came upstairs and began packing some bags. She came into my room, and I awoke as she started packing, and I rolled over and asked her what she was doing, and my mom sat on my bed and told me that Daddy's grandma died, and we had to leave the next morning to go to the funeral. And I proceeded to say, I know. I saw her in my dream, and she told me not to be scared. She said it would be okay. I cried when my mother told me this story 10 years after it happened. I cried because I was sad that my memories of it were gone, and that my psychic abilities had diminished since then. But I also cried for happiness that I once had that power. Though I can no longer commune with the spirits, I sense them around me, and I hope to learn why these memories are suppressed and to revive them if possible. That's interesting. It's interesting to me that this person doesn't even, granted, we have a lot of memories in our very young years that are hard to remember, and some people don't remember much before their 7, 8, 9-year-old days, and maybe a few fleeting memories from before that. But most often they're very, very sparse and sketchy, what you can recall. So I don't think that that's necessarily unusual, but the change in the psychic abilities, I think, has a lot to do with growing up. When you're 3 and 4 years old, and 5 years old, your life isn't really that complicated. There's somebody pulling out your clothes. There's somebody dressing you. There's somebody, telling you when to do things, and you do them. But otherwise, other than those directed kind of activities, I think most little children are just kind of in their own heads. They're in their own experience, and they're really, really, really naturally centered. They don't have things pulling them off of that center. They don't have social issues or job issues or boyfriend girlfriend issues or anything else Even, you might have a favorite cartoon or two, but other than that, there just isn't a lot of distraction that I think as you get older, we acquire so many more distractions to our attention, and it's hard to get to that very centered place that you need to be in order to tune into those visions. I think that it has everything to do with acquiring that peaceful state of mind that for children is very, the hell was that? That for children is very natural. That was weird. Did you guys hear that? It was like, huh. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to listen to the replay and see if that came through. But if you guys in the chat room heard that noise, let me know. That was a different one. I'm not familiar with that noise. Not saying that's paranormal. I'm just saying it was like right outside. There's a window right over here that goes into a backyard. That's completely dark. There's no lights back there or anything, but it's a fenced-in backyard. But there shouldn't be anything out there making noise. Nope, doesn't look like I can see anything, although I can only look out a few feet. But yeah, very strange. Did you guys hear that or no? Bust off the tape recorder. Yeah, well, there is that. I guess I could. Okay, you guys didn't hear anything. Okay. I guess it was just me, but it was strange. It was a weird noise, like that. But it was really kind of loud, but, enough to hear it through the headphones. But apparently not loud enough to go into the microphone, so whatever the case is. It's not the plumbing. No, actually, the only plumbing is like half the house that way. There's absolutely no plumbing in this side of the house at all, and all the heat is done through a propane stove in this house. It's a pretty small house, but it's only one little unit in the corner of the living room that heats the whole house. So it's not like I have registers or plumbing going through the house at all. There's just walls. It's an old house. This house is. It's got. I think it was one of the first houses in Sandpoint. We're among the first in this part of Sandpoint, anyway. So, but very interesting. Again, I'm not making any claims that it was paranormal. It's just weird. It sounded like it was right next to my head. So, little weird. But again, back to the child thing. I think that children are just centered. They're just in the moment, and I think that for psychics, and Deb, you can certainly speak to this, or Dee or Sean if they're here. But you have to find that frame of mind to really, really plug in and really clue in. And I suppose the more you do it, the more naturally it is to just snap to that whenever you need it. But as we get older, we get distracted and we forget how to get to that centered place. So I think that that's a big key to it. But that's my own 2 cents. Take it or leave it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't claim to be an expert, but I am enthusiastic about all this. All right, the next one is coming out of Florida. And let's see what's going on in Florida. This has to do with sleep paralysis or old hags or night attacks, whatever you want to say. But about 10 months ago, in August, I'd been having a very strange occurrences. Every time I'd go to sleep, I would feel a presence as if someone or something was watching me. There was one night when I hear the minion. There was one night when I was trying to fall asleep, but I couldn't because I heard something else breathing with me. And that's when I told my ex-boyfriend, and he thought that I was overreacting. And I tried to ignore the presence as much as I could until one night, my ex-boyfriend and his friends came over to my house around 2 a.m., and his friend said that he thinks the Santeria bracelets that I had on were the reason something was watching me. He looked at one of the bracelets and found that one of the eyes had 2 black dots instead of 1. And that means someone had placed an evil eye on me. We burned it and checked the other bracelet if it had anything, but it didn't, so I left it on. That night, I fell asleep without a problem, and I had a strange dream, though, that the bracelet was still intact. All of a sudden, I woke up laying on my back, which was strange because I had fallen asleep on my stomach, and I don't move that much in my sleep. I could hear my brother getting ready for school, so I figured it was around 5:30 a.m., and being that early, I tried to go back to sleep, but as soon as I closed my eyes, I felt something touching my shoulders, and before I could even try to figure out what it was, I was pinned so hard that I could feel my bed denting. I could still hear my brother's footsteps outside my door, so I tried to scream, but all that came out was a wisp of breath. I began to panic, trying to kick myself free, but no use. The pressure on me just increased. And I started to hear a strange sound that I can only describe as the sound of wind blowing. It was rushing through my ears, growing louder and louder, and I started to feel as if my insides were moving. Not painfully, but not really comfortable either. And I felt like it was trying to pull me out of my body, and I prayed silently to God, please make it stop. And as soon as it did, I ran out of my room and went downstairs. My brother was eating breakfast, and it was 6:15 a.m. I checked the bracelet that I still had on again, and was shocked to see that one of the eyes had 2 dots in it. But when we checked it, it didn't have anything. I later found out through my grandmother, who has contact with spirits, not by choice, they just come as they please, that there is a spirit of a man that is envious of my body and wants it. An incubus, sort of. Whenever I let my guard down, the spirit takes the advantage to haunt me in my dreams, and he takes the physical form of a friend or family member and has his way with me. He also tried to pin me down again, but it never works. All I can say is that ever since that night, I have a heightened sense to when a spirit or something is in the room. For those of you who have had this problem too, here are some things you can do. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see what they say. First one is rearrange your room, mostly your bed, since the spirit knows where you sleep. What this does is confuse the spirit so it can't find you. I don't know if there's anything to that, but where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Apparently spirits can't turn their head. Number 2, place a small glass of water under your bed, and if not, then somewhere close to your bed. Don't be surprised if the water evaporates really fast. If you have a spirit in your room, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. If you see it empty, refill it. The third one is place a shot glass of ammonia under your bed, same as number 2, and what this does is scares the evil spirits away. They don't like strong smells. If you see it empty, refill it. Number 4, lavender incense, the real lavender, because it helps you go to sleep. And the more things you do, the better. So there's 4 options. I don't know, maybe there's something to that. It seems kind of silly to think that if you just move your bed, they can't find you. To me that sounds a little humorous. I don't know how aware spirits are, or maybe they're in a state of confusion and they won't be able to sort it out. I don't know. But it says, I don't know if about the REM state, but I really don't want to find out what would have happened if I had just laid there and taken the experience. If it was a dream state, then how did I hear my brother walking down the stairs, and why did I feel as if something was moving my insides? Do not just lay there and take it. Well, that's, I suppose, good advice. I don't know. Okay, so the next one is a little different, and this comes out of the state of Missouri. I'm rather Missouri. Comes out of Missouri. This takes place around 5:30 a.m., and my husband and I were asleep in our room, and our 2 boys were locked in their room. Well, it doesn't say locked, it says they were in their room. My oldest son, James, came into my bedroom and woke me up and told me that something woke him up. I told him to try and go lay down for a little bit longer, and I will wake him up when it's time for breakfast, and he said okay and walked out of the room, then down the hallway to his bedroom. Not even 30 seconds later, I heard him screaming at the top of his lungs and running as fast as he could. He ran into my room and jumped into my bed, and I asked him what was wrong, frantically, and he just kept saying over and over, "There's something in my bed." I finally calmed him down and asked him what had happened, and he told me that when he got into his room, he walked through the doorway to get into his bed, and I know this sounds stupid and unbelievable, but he said that there was a giant thing that looked like a monkey just sitting on his bed, staring at him. He said that it was breathing very hard and you could hear it, and then he told me that, and this really freaked me out, that this thing had the same color eyes that he did, which are blue. And I asked him how he knew it was a monkey, and he described it to me. And he looked at me and said, I stared at it just long enough that I could even see the hair on its knuckles. I know this sounds just crazy, but my son has never lied to me. He's very down to earth, and I also went and looked at his bed just at the corner where he said this thing was sitting, and there was a very deep indent, like something very heavy was sitting in that spot. Needless to say, that scared me even more, and I do not let anyone in that room. My son now shares a room with his younger brother. Well, that's interesting. I don't know. It's hard to know, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing: there are entities that were human and have passed and are, in the state that they're in. And generally, when they're seen, they look like a human. But there are so many other things that were never human. So if if something appears and it looks different than a human, does that naturally imply that they're a negative thing? And I don't think it does. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. It could be some kind of animal spirit that's tied to this child and is watching over him. It could be some form of natural entity such as let's see, such as um, uh, I don't know. It's from Missouri, so why would there be monkeys? I don't know. I don't know how monkeys would tie into the natural order of Missouri, but there's other entities. Is my point, and we don't know how they're all going to look. I mean, if they choose to show themselves, can they appear like animals? Now there is the idea that maybe it is a really negative thing, and many people say that demonic things often appear animalistic in their appearance. They may have, pig faces and distorted weird bodies or, long nails or, whatever. They may have many different type of features that we're not accustomed to seeing in a being. So, but I don't know that it's safe to assume that this, if this is indeed what the child saw, if that automatically implies that it's evil. No, I don't believe so. In situations like this, outside of the normal startling occurrence of seeing something that you're not quite sure how to process, you kind of have to pay attention to your gut. If something dark is around, and paranormal investigators will understand this very well, or spiritualists, or sensitive psychics. When something's dark is around, and even everybody else will understand this. You've been around something when something just doesn't feel right. We know it. You know if you're in the presence of evil. You feel it. It's like being dipped in oil that's just feels evil and I don't know, it just feels contrary to everything good. And it depends on your sensitivity level, but we do have everybody has an extra sense. Everybody has that kind of awareness of energetic fields, whether they know it on a conscious level or not. But everybody has been in situations where you just get that bad gut feeling. It's like, I don't know what's going on, and if you don't listen to it, you find out something bad ends up happening. But oftentimes people go, "Hey, I got a bad feeling about this. I'm out of here." We all listen to that little inner voice, which may be our guides warning us, or whatever. But we know that feeling, and I really have the opinion that sometimes that really wrong feeling is because something is around that's really wrong. It can just be circumstances, like something bad's going to happen. I can feel it, and that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a presence or an entity. But if you're confronted by something dark and evil, chances are you're going to feel it. Now, I'm going to refer you guys to those of you who are familiar with the show. When Dan Pruitt was on, he was telling the story of when he was confronted with that darker than dark. When they were in a pitch black room and it got much darker than that, and even the shadow shadow detector even detected that it got darker. So it was not only something they experienced with their senses, but the shadow detector recorded a change as well. And he said you could just feel the raw, dark, cold, evil energy, like something just horrible walked into the room. And he mentioned that that happened at his apartment at one time when he was living there. That something outside of the door, that he could see the shadow pass from the little gap underneath the door in his apartment complex. But he said he felt it. He felt it through his whole body, like something really wrong was there. You look at the Black Eyed Kids episodes, where people have experienced those, and they look like little children. And on a emotional level, people are like, I want to help these little kids, but they say something was wrong. I just felt something was wrong. Something was horribly wrong. And every fiber of my being was screaming to shut the door and leave and don't let him in. So we have that sensory perception. Everybody does. And so when you see something that doesn't quantify as like a normal, quote unquote ghost, then, check for that feeling. I mean, you're going to be startled. It's like, oh my God, there's a monkey on my bed and there isn't supposed to be. This is really weird. But then try to feel, how does it feel? Does it feel scary, or are you just startled? Two very different things. So just some thoughts. I don't know. It's real idealistic to say that you'd be in a situation at, 1, 2, or 3 in the morning, you're just out of a sleep and suddenly there's a monkey on your bed. Yeah, maybe everybody would have to scrape their underwear. I suppose I would have to as well. But, I don't know. I just don't like the assumptions that just because it looks different, it may be evil. I think that's just too easy. This is a very dynamic universe that we live in, and reality is many layered, and we don't understand it all. So to jump to judgments, I think, is always a dangerous thing. Just my 2 cents again, but it's my show, so you get all my cents. And sometimes I ain't got any sense. I don't know. All right, next story, ladies and gentlemen. This one is coming out of Missouri again. It's Missouri night here on the portal. It's funny. My dad always used to like to go to Missouri. They went to Branson all the time, and they had a lot of fun. And I was really glad they'd make those trips because my parents never really traveled anywhere. So when they made those trips to Branson, they had a lot of fun, and it was good. Just a little side note. I've been thinking about my dad a lot today, so I guess that he keeps popping up in my conversations throughout the day. So maybe that means he's hanging out with me or something. I don't know. But I have the feeling that he's doing really well. Like, I have a feeling that he's doing really well, which is cool. Okay, so out of Missouri. Hello, my name is Carolyn, and I got a really spooky tale to tell you. My boyfriend and I moved into this 2-story house, and upstairs had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and the downstairs had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and kitchen and dining room, and kitchen, dining room, and kitchen, of course. My boyfriend Chip went upstairs to take a bath, and well, like most men, he forgot his towel, so about halfway through his bath, he called for me to bring him a towel. So I got his towel and started to the upstairs bathroom, and when I got up to the top of the stairs, I went to the bathroom, and he had it locked, so I told him to unlock it, and he said for me to wait a minute. So I stepped back against the wall facing one of the bedrooms up there, and at first I didn't see anything, but when my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw something sitting on the bed. This sounds really familiar. I don't know if we've read this somewhere or not, but it does. It sounds like something we've read before. So I saw something sitting on the bed, and it was what appeared to be a young boy. I didn't believe what I saw, so I walked closer to the bed, and I know that my face turned white because, sure enough, there was a young boy just sitting on that bed staring at me. And he gave me the feeling that he wasn't very friendly. There was no one else in the house except for my boyfriend in the bathroom and me. I started screaming for him to unlock the door, and I was crying very hard. He let me in, and I told him what was going on, so he went to check the room, but he saw nothing. Now I know that what I saw, and whatever it was, I think it just wanted to scare me. Needless to say, I moved out about a month later. Thank you. So the little boy apparition, that wasn't very nice. I can't say I'm real surprised. If you've listened to the show, you know my opinion on little kid spirits. But let's get to the next one. This one's coming out of New York. And what's going on in New York? How long is this one? Oh, this is a real longie, too. You guys are in for a real treat because I'm going to be reading for a while here. Let me cough quick. There we are. I'm going to get a drink quick, too. It's really dry. This winter air, man. Whew. Refreshing. All right, next. Let's start this story off. Oh, wow, we're already at 40 minutes. We're going to probably be going the full hour by the time I read this, or pretty close. Before I begin, I want to lay the backstory, and I've never had what I would call a ghost story experience until last night, and now I'm up typing in the wee hours of the new day because I'm afraid to sleep again. I grew up in a very conservative Southern Baptist family, and my mom got deeply into her faith as she got older and later claimed to often see visions that I had trouble believing. She was always tying them to her faith, either God telling her something or letting her see dark things, and it's a long story, but I was close to my mom from child to early college, and things escalated. Weird things with my mom once I was a senior in college. I eventually decided all those visions were due to stress of her and my dad that finally erupted in divorce my senior year of college. Some strange events surrounded my parents' divorce that drove my mom to be committed to mental health department of a hospital for about a month, and I believe that with her husband going and me heading off to Nashville to live, that she had a huge breakdown over losing two people in her life that had always been there. I ended up growing distant from Mom after she really spooked me on my first trip to visit Nashville, the trip which culminated with her hospital stay, and grew closer to my dad after all that happened. My spiritual belief system has gone from solid Christian fundamentalist beliefs, Jesus, etc., to now believing in a core foundation of faith, hope, and love as what drives me today, but not really sure if I believe in a deity, God, or the Bible, or if we make things happen on our own. I would be accurate to label me in spiritual turmoil and uncertainty. I'm on my spiritual journey and aware of it every day, looking for clues in many situations, stories, personal experiences, etc. I currently live in New York City, and I will say that recently life has been stressful because I lost my job in January due to restructuring, and am about to move to Chicago. And I preface my ghost experience only a little over 4 hours ago with these statements because, with my background of faith and my fuzzy beliefs now, I'm not sure how to react to this, and I don't know if this is just my mind sorting out stress and dealing with change, but the following really has me shaken. I journaled it, and I will relay my journal entry and then end asking some questions of anyone reading this. May 22nd, 2007 at 11:33 p.m. I've just had my first apparition vision. I've fallen into the same mental state, maybe the lucid dream state, I'm not sure, that I found myself in for this particular experience previous times in this room. But being the state has never culminated in me seeing an apparition previously, it has just been this feeling of heavy weight that makes it hard to move. I was just aware that I was awake, and looking at my room in a state that was not normal, as if some heavy-weighted force was inside me, and some phantom force was holding my eyes open, and it took all my strength to move my head to look around, and then I would feel the heavy-weighted force suck out of me, like someone sipping it out through a straw. Afterward, I'd blink my eyes and then look at the world normally again, as the following happened, I was in that mental state that I've been in before. Tonight, I fell asleep between 8 and 9 p.m., and later, I was evidently sleeping on my right side, with my left arm draped across and off the side of the bed, and I suddenly was aware of something near my hand, but it took a while for me to catch on to it, consistently being there. My mental state was very slow to react to the movement near my hand. I came to realize that the source of what was touching my hand felt hairy. So, My mind immediately associated with a dog without me even turning to see what it was. The reason for me meant to mentally assume it was a dog is because I had a dog named Ginger, who is now dead, and all through my childhood, she would often move from my bed to my parents' bed, or vice versa, throughout the night. When she would come to my room, I would be awakened by her jumping up and pawing me, letting me know she wanted to be up on the bed. So, in my dreamlike state, yet not my mind still being groggy, I thought, oh, a dog. Before thinking, oh, a dog, I suddenly became aware of the silliness of a dog being there because I could tell I was still in my room, and my mind associated my current room with my current living condition and the fact that we have no dogs here. So, without trying to deal with the paralyzing force that made it so difficult for my head to turn to see what it was, I thought, Ginger is dead. Nothing could possibly be here. I remembered once it was logical. I was logical about it, falling out of the vision state for a moment, like my body and mind finally had let reality sweep away the dreamlike state. And so once I felt the heaviness of the dreamlike state leave, I easily lifted my head and scanned the side of my bed and saw that nothing was there. Not a few seconds later, after contentedly laying my head back on the pillow, the paralyzing force came sweeping in my body once again, and I knew it. I could tell something wasn't right. My hand was still off the side of the bed, and I felt it again, the hair and the movement, and at this point, even in the dreamlike state, I could feel the strands of fear starting to stir. Whatever it was just out of the corner of my eye, and it was going to take all the effort I could possibly muscle to move my head with this weighted feeling of force. So I was successful in moving my head one slight bit, and I could see the hair, just the hair. Oh, and my dog Ginger was a Lhasa Apso, so they are very hairy. And at this point, my mind was in a ping pong match of get real, this isn't happening, to oh my God, what's going on? The logical part of my brain started to wondering if my roommate had let in an animal into our apartment. So I said, why is there a dog in my room? Who let the dog in my room? I grabbed for the dog's neck, but just felt a huge chunk of hair in my grasp. At this point, I was getting spooked and thought I was hallucinating my dead dog Ginger, and I said, Ginger, is that you? Is that... And I got so curious that I finally found the strength to force my head all the way to more than just the hair, and what I found wasn't a dog. Jesus, I just got the chills. It appeared to be a ghost, a young girl, a young woman, kneeling at my bed with her face turned down toward my hand and at such an angle that I could only feel her hair as it brushed against my hand. She was doing something to my hands, and I reacted slowly, just like I was in a movie or something. The terror slowly rippled up my chest, up my head, and all I could do was whisper frighteningly, stuttering, Get away from me, please. Please get away from me. I was too paralyzed to move my hand from her, and my realizing of it being an apparition overshadowed my taking time to even notice what she was doing to my finger. A part of me thought maliciously that she was gnawing at my finger, but with it being my first ghost experience, my mental state was so terrified that I can see how I had imagined the worst. She could have been just caressing it. I didn't necessarily feel pain, just a tingle. I felt the heavy weight suck out of me, like someone sipping it through a straw, and then immediately fell on my pillow awake and leaned up and brought my hand to my mouth and was so scared that I just started crying. I never really thought about seeing a ghost since it has never happened to me before, and maybe I didn't really believe they did exist. But this really shook me up. I've lived in this apartment for nearly 5 months, and this is my first time to experience seeing a vision like that. I've been in that dreamlike state, weighted state before while in this room, but never seen anything. Do you think that she could have been there when I was in the same mental state before? But I just wasn't curious enough to force my head to move around to look, to find her there like I did this time? I swear I had not been drinking. I've never, never, never taken illegal substances in my life. And I'm very picky about the over the counter medications I take as well. And I'm all about healthy eating and taking as few medicines as I can. More into holistic stuff, natural stuff. This experience has really scared me, and I know I might should react to her with less fright if I see her again and try to find out what she's doing. But just the idea of a ghost is quite fearful for me. Do any of you, when you have experienced visions, have the heavy weighted feeling that takes all of the strength you can muster just to move your head? Excuse me. I'm curious what other people might perceive about this, and I will answer any additional questions. I've been up since 11:33, and I had to go out and get some juice and get a snack at the bodega. I texted a best friend who is a neighbor, and I really wish I had a boyfriend to keep me company, but not in a relationship currently, so I sleep in my room alone. So I was too frightened to go back to sleep. It is now just getting to be daylight, so I'm about to try to sleep again, and I'll let you know if she returns or any other strange visions occur. Thanks for reading, and I'll answer any questions you might have. Warmest regards. Oh, I don't know. That's, is that an old hag situation? I don't know. That's a tough one. Plenty creepy though, but a tough one nonetheless. I don't know what they do, and if they're putting you in that state, is that because they're feeding something from you? Is that being drained through a straw thing? You know, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew. There's so much I wish I knew, ladies and gentlemen, but that's a weird story. That's not that, I don't know. It's so weird to think that we might be some kind of sustenance for something else. I think that thinking of us as, apex predators and we're at the top of our food chain and normally things don't eat us but then there's these other things in another kind of reality that are rumored to do just that they're rumored to feed on us and draw some sustenance from our existence. And what does that mean? Are they good? Are they pulling out stuff that we shouldn't have or don't need, or maybe we have too much of it and they're pulling it away and it sustains them and helps us? Is it a beneficial relationship, or are they feeding on our life force and sustaining themselves while depleting us? Are they malevolent in that nature? And I don't know. There's many legends out there, both ways. Things that suck life from us, and other things that are drawing the negativity out of us so that we are healthier and happier. I don't know. Who knows? But they're out there, and apparently they're sucking on fingers like straws. I don't know. Good story though. Very well written and a very cool account. But, yeesh, I don't know. I don't know a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, but I do know that about wraps up our journey tonight on the Paranormal Portal, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed you guys, as always. It's a pleasure to see so many of you guys here listening and taking part in the show. All you guys in the chat room, I'm just pleased to see you, and thanks for coming in and being a part of the Paranormal Portal family. Make sure, now I was looking at the analytics today, ladies and gentlemen, and oddly enough, like 55% of our views of our videos here on the channel are people that are unsubscribed to the channel. So please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It certainly helps in so many ways to help promote the channel, to show the growth, and of course, the growing family is always a good thing. The more of us there are, the more amazing we can be. I don't know. I think so anyway. But I'm just really excited to watch this grow and to see what it'll become. So spread the word. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That'd be really cool. It would certainly help. And I get a big smile on my face every day. I see the counter go up of how many people are subscribed. So, but that's about it. Have a wonderful night. Sweet dreams. Be good, be kind, be nice to each other. Help each other out. Be there for each other. Be a good friend, a good neighbor, a good family member. And I had an old friend that said this this saying, and I think about it often. And he said, if you ever have a choice between being right or being kind, always choose kind. I thought that was nice. It's a sweet idea anyway. So I love you guys. Have a great night. Sweet dreams. And I will see you tomorrow. We'll be back again. Sorry, still froggy. But that wraps up the stories for tonight. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 7 days a week. There is a Paranormal Portal going on right here on our YouTube channel. So come back tomorrow night, and I'll be waiting for you. Take care, everybody.